Hello and welcome to another edition of a Bowl Fast Talk Straight, where we are going to look back at fantastic cricket match, India versus Pakistan. Pakistan cruised to a 10-wicket victory, and it was a great occasion for the two countries coming together. But in the world of cricket, there's some breaking news, and John Norman's going to give us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. Well, John, the big news is not India, Pakistan trampling all over India. It's huge for England fans.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not Liverpool being 4-0 up at half-time against Manchester United. It's Ben Stokes back in the Ashes squad. There'd been a couple of little rumours over the last month or so that possibly his finger had healed enough. We'd seen some Instagram posts of him, back in the nets for the first time in months. A few rumours buzzing around that possibly he might be added to the squad towards the end of the Ashes. But breaking news in the last 20 minutes or so, Ben Stokes is back. And coming in the week that sadly James Pattinson decided that he just could not get himself up to test match fitness. He's sadly retired from the game. I imagine that the odds for an English victory today have switched from what they were a couple of days ago. Pattinson out for the Aussies and Ben Stokes back for England. Of course, missed the last Ashes 4 years ago. So that is huge, huge news, not just for England, but for the series, because it would have been a real tough ask, I think, for England to compete in Australia. But with Ben Stokes back, just balancing out the team, he, of course, announced himself to the world stage of that century 8 years ago in Perth, and the fact that he can just add third seamer or fourth seamer duties. It's an absolute game changer for me. What about you?
Yeah, it is. It's a game changer. It balances the side out, like you mentioned there. But I'm just pleased to see Ben back. I'll put England and the cricket part of it to one side for a second. To see that a good friend of mine is feeling well enough to go and play in Australia or go and play cricket full stop after what he's gone through from a mental point of view, and then obviously the fingers healed. Like you said, we seen last week little things on social media of hitting balls, and I think once we've seen them on hitting balls, I think we all knew he was going to be coming back. And it's great for English cricket because it now gives them. I still think it's an outside chance. I don't think England are favourites by any stretch of the imagination with Ben coming back, but it just gives them a chance to balance the side out much better. I didn't believe for 1 minute they could play any spin bowler in that team going to Australia, because the only way I see England winning Australia is you obviously got to take 20 wickets, but you got to get runs on the board. And the only way they did that for me was having 6 batsmen, Josh Buttler at number 7, and play 4 out-and-out bowlers, which all would be seamers, in my opinion. Now it's a different game. It's a different. Ben comes in that middle order. You can play a spin bowler because you're going to leave one of your seamers out and fit the spinner in. And when you look at the way the stature that Ben has, the few skeletons that he has over Australia, there'll be, I wouldn't say Australia will be petrified, will be terrified, but I think there'll be a few nervous twitches there because of what Ben Stokes means to the game of cricket in England and what he's done in the Ashes previously. So it's great news for England. It's great news for Ben. And it, like you said, it just makes that Ashes. I can't wait for it to come around on the 8th of December. First Test match, Brisbane. Somebody's got some bad memories of that one. Hopefully, England will have some better memories. And now we're having Ben Stokes inside. I just think that gives them that little bit more of a chance that they could potentially bring the urn back to the British Isles.
Brilliant stuff. Well, look, nobody mentions that Gabba test more than you do. I was there. I also mentioned that I was there as well. I was videoing it. The first ball of the Ashes, video. I was in the first row in the terrible cheap seats. Sun blazing down on me. First Ashes test in Australia. Videoing the first ball. I'll show you this video one day. video in the first ball, Harmy running in away from me, running in, and then I was like, "Where's the ball gone?" Oh, it's there. Anyway, we don't need to talk about that anymore.
No, we don't.
Let's talk about India against Pakistan, because we've had in the last 24 hours some incredible sports news. We've had the Ben Stokes news, which we just made mention. We've had Liverpool beating Manchester United 5-0 at Old Trafford, with Paul Pogba getting sent off. We've had Fulham beating Nottingham Forest 4-0 away. Sorry, just thought I'd throw that in. And we've had Pakistan beating India by 10 wickets in a World Cup. Now, we all know the stats about India and Pakistan in World Cups, but 10 wickets. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. Let's start from the beginning, because we spoke following the England-West Indies game, where we had a couple of questions in about the India-Pakistan match. And one of the points you made was you wanted to see Shaheen Afridi, how he would play, and you thought he could prove to be the difference at the top of the order. Well, once again, Harmy's predicts was bang on. He was sensational, wasn't he?
He was. He got the ball to move back into the right-handed batsman. You know, the ball to get Rohit Sharma. When he bowled Keir Rahul. That was a beauty.
That for me, because the batsman knew what was coming and still couldn't do anything about it. That was incredible.
It was fantastic. I just love his energy. Afridi's energy. He's in your face without being in your face. He's not sort of bang right in there verbals, but his lengths are he's aggressive in length. He's aggressive in nature. And he swings the ball beautifully. And when he's on top form, like he was yesterday, there's not many better in the world, especially
is there any better? Jared Kimber, our old mate Jared, I was reading his article on it, and he was saying that Shaheen Afridi is well in front of any other bowler in the world. This is 2020 cricket, though, isn't it? Bowling the first over.
Yeah, I'd give him that. Yeah, because he's tall. He bowls very, very full. He bowls good length. He's quick, very, very quick. You know, he's up in and around 88, 90 mile an hour, and he gets the ball to swing. He can swing the ball both ways. He's very, very difficult to sort of score off. And yeah, the way he his movement through the air is what does a lot of people, and it did for Keir Rahul yesterday. Rohit Sharma might as well have walked off. I think he gives that. I think Rohit Sharma give that the umpire the easiest decision in the world by his expression. He was stone dead, smack in front. And when you've got somebody like that, he sets the tone and he bowls the way he did. Then if you do bowl first, that's gets you off. That's the steam train going. And unfortunately for India, apart from a little passage from Virat and from Rishabh Pant, they were always behind the eight ball. They were always trying to play catch up. They were never really got themselves in a position where you think, right, kick on from here, and they're gonna set a total which will win. I always felt as though the majority time of that first innings, they were always 5 runs short in the power play, 10 runs short in the middle period, and then 15 runs, possibly more short at the end of the game. They never really got to a point, in my opinion, where they're back in this game, and that was largely down to a Afridi start.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I thought that it was a strangely muted India side. You know, you always expect these to be really fiery clashes, and it seemed to me that there was only one team playing in India versus Pakistan match, and it wasn't India.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and I think that was largely down to the first over. Simple as that. He set the tone. He set the tone. First ball against Rohit Sharma, he knocked Rahul over. Third ball, Keir Rahul's third ball. All of a sudden, India never recovered. They were shell shocked. It was like they were stunned. And I think their expressions, I think their body language, I think everything that you have because of the start that Afridi gave Pakistan. I think that's where India were. And there might be people saying they might be tired off the IPL. They weren't. Trust me, they weren't. They were up for this clash. They were ready for this clash. Unfortunately, Afridi put them in a position after the first over where they never really recovered, whether that was runs in the game or physically and mentally, because it just looked as though he just knocked all the stuffing out of them. It was like a body blow from a boxer, and you feel as it, you just keep feeling it and feeling it and feeling it. You never really feel as though you get the wind back in the sails. That's what Pakistan did to India yesterday, largely down to the first over.
Yeah, because we've heard a lot about the World Cup stat, but Pakistan did beat India in the Champions Trophy in 2017, and although they batted first on that regard, it was a similar situation insofar that it was Mohammed Amir who ripped the heart out the top order, didn't he? So there was some similarities.
I remember we were commentating, and we do remember we commentated on the England game against Pakistan at Cardiff, and Pakistan beat England because England inept couldn't get any runs against on the slow pitches, and then at the Oval, they just never recovered. It was again, it was a body blow that India never came back from, and it just seems that, like we said the other night, if Pakistan get off to a good start and Afridi gets off to a good start, Pakistan have got a great chance of winning, and that's what happened. And India never threw a punch back.
Let's get a couple of questions in. We've got G Paul. Hey, G Paul. Would you play a half-fit Hardik Pandya and a specialist batsman, or bring in Shardul Thakur? India can't rely on only 5 bowling options. And that was evident against yesterday, wasn't it? Because Pakistan were very watchful and respectful to Jasprit Bumrah. But a little bit like with the bowling, or the Indian batting, I should say, you had Virat Kohli, and that was it. And essentially, he had to play a certain way because of what was going on at the other end. And similarly with the bowling, Pakistan could just sit on Bumrah and then attack at the other end. So the balance, I may mention the fact that I thought India would win the tournament because they could play 3 or 4 different teams, essentially, and play 3 or 4 different ways. The way they played yesterday did not work. So I imagine that they will look to change it. So I wonder what you think about G. Paul's question.
Yeah, G. Paul, I think you have to have a 6th option for me in cricket now. I think you have to have a 6th bowling option, even though it's just a fiddling. When I look at England, you look at Liam Livingstone. He's our 6th option, but he's not normally our 7th. I think you do need a 6th option because of the amount of runs and the way batsmen play now. I do think you need somebody up your sleeve who can nip an over in here or nip an over in there and give you a little bit of breathing space as a captain to sort of maneuver and fiddle with your troops, because that's where, for me, that's why Morgan is so good. I said the other day in the preview, India's preview, their weakness. I was on my own, John. The biggest thing for me with India, always, their weakness is picking the wrong side. That's
too much choice.
Exactly, too much choice. Pick the wrong side.
Virat Kohli He bowled in one of the warm-ups, and he was turning his arm over in practice yesterday. You go in with 5 bowlers, he's going to bowl.
But India have loads and loads and loads of options. You look at yesterday, Pandya came in batting after Jadeja. If that's the case, and you don't think Hardik Pandya is, because he's not going to bowl. If he's not going to bat at number 7, then you might as well have a Shardul Thakur play and give you another bowling option if you're not going to bat Hardik a little bit higher up. So, for me, I said it in the preview for this World T20 tournament, the only weakness India have is India. And that means picking the wrong side. All bases covered. They've got an embarrassment of riches from a team point of view. But they do tend to shoot themselves in the foot by picking the wrong side every now and again. And possibly, did that happen yesterday? I think it might have done, because Hardik Pandya batted number 7 and didn't bowl. Well, if that's the case, I'm sure Shardul Thakur, who would give you 3 overs, and he would bat at number 7 just as ably as good.
Tanwar Prashant says, bring in Ishan Kishan, and he is one player that's been mentioned in dispatches. He can keep wicket, of course. I think he's got a strike rate of around 200 in the power play. We've seen him in the IPL. We've seen him play against England. Outrageous talent, a youngster as well. I think he was dropped by Mumbai Indians earlier this season, and then came back again. But, this is the thing now, isn't it? Mohammed Shami got some horrendous stick on Twitter. it's disgraceful, to be honest, at times, some of the stuff that people say. But his position is going to come under scrutiny, as is Bhuvneshwar Kumar. You know, he hasn't had the greatest of runs as well. And suddenly it's like, oh, we got too many batsmen, but not enough bowlers. And you know, are we playing too many spinners, or you know, do we have enough pace? It's incredible how quickly things turn around.
It is. I couldn't believe Ishan Kishan didn't play.
Who would he play for though? Where would he go ahead of? I heard I was chatting with our mate Chaitan, and his colleague was saying drop Rohit. Couldn't believe it. I know. That's a big That's what I said. That's what I said.
They like big calls, because Chaitan before the India England Test series was saying if Kohli gets beat, he's got to be sacked and retired.
It's so quick.
So it is. We do work in a fickle business, and social media is, in my opinion, it's horrendous sometimes. Bhuvneshwar Kumar didn't bowl that well in the warm-up games. Mohammad Shami for me is a fantastic bowler, and there's no way I'm dropping him. He is a valued member for me in that side. Ishan Kishan, I thought he would have played instead of Yadav. But when you look at this side, if you go, and this is the problem, they've got a lot of threes, a lot of fours, not many sixes in the batting order. So from that point of view, can he play instead of Hardik Pandya? Everybody go in at number 3, and everybody go in at number 4, and everybody move down one. That means Rishabh Pant goes in at number 6, probably 1 too low. You want him a little bit higher. So there's a lot of batsmen in this group wanting to bat 3, 4, and 3, 4 in worst case scenario 5. Nobody seems to want to bat at number 6. So if they're going to go with 5 out and out bowlers and just 5, I think they can find a place for Ishan Kishan. I would find a place for Ishan Kishan, because I think he's a fantastic player.
Producer Ari has just told me that in the pre-match press conference, Virat Kohli was asked about dropping Rohit Sharma, and he just cracked up, just started laughing. Which is it? In fact, isn't he going to be the captain? Isn't he taking over the captaincy?
He's taking over the captaincy, and he's probably one of the world. I tell you what, if India dropped Rohit Sharma, there'll be 5 teams in that group desperate to play against India. Bowler's point of view, because they'll be thinking, I want to play against India. I'd be thinking, right, we'll play them next, because I'd rather play India without Rohit Sharma than actually with him, because that is
absolutely.
I can't believe that.
How big? G. Paul says, where did India's bowlers get it wrong yesterday, or was the dew that much of a big factor?
I think the dew is a factor. I think the dew is a factor out there. 2020 is such a game where once you get on a roll, it's difficult to get off that roll, and I think that's all Pakistan did yesterday. They started well, which India didn't, and India went searching because they were desperate for wickets, because they felt, and I believe India felt, we've got to bowl these out to win the game, because 151 is not enough, and Pakistan capitalized on that. Balls were getting overpitched. There was a couple of short balls, and India and Pakistan got away. And Babar Azam is a fantastic player. Rizwan's a great 2020 player, top of the order. And like I said, right at the outset of this tournament, Pakistan are a real deal, and they've got a great chance of winning this tournament. And they proved that yesterday.
What about the Pakistani bowlers then? Because, the fielders took their catches, which is an area of concern. Shaheen Afridi did exactly what he had to do at the top of the order. But for me, there was a variety to their attack. At no point, at no point did India's, essentially, Babar Azam could shuffle his pack in a way that Virat Kohli couldn't. And I thought that was, considering they're coming up against India, you just have to wonder what they're going to do to some of the lesser teams. That was an incredibly all-round. We didn't see the middle order bat, but that was an incredibly disciplined bowling effort. Even, as you say, when India were putting on that partnership with Kohli and Pant, they never ever really seemed like they were ahead of the game. So yeah, I thought they were fantastic. What about yourself?
Yeah, the bowling unit is, like you mentioned, you've got a left arm, an off spinner, and a wrist spinner. You've got 3 seamers. Having somebody like Shadab Khan, Hassan Ali and Imad Wasim. You've got three low order batsmen as well. You've got 7, 8, and 9 who can all clear the rope, essentially, that can hit it. So the balance of the side works out brilliantly. But I come back to the bowling unit right at the very start. The first over set the tone for the whole game. It got Pakistan going, got them on the front foot, and it got India on the back foot. And India never got close to being on the front foot throughout the match. And I think largely down to the way Pakistan bowled, and you've got to be backed up, and they're backed up in the field, which is not only Pakistan's strength. Catching and fielding, I thought the ground fielding was very, very good as well. But they've got a very, very well-balanced attack, 3 seamers and 3 different spinners, and who have got experience of playing 2020 cricket. And like I said a few days ago in Pakistan's preview, these guys have been playing. It's not as though New Zealand didn't turn up. Sorry, New Zealand went home, England didn't turn up. Feel sorry for ourselves. We haven't played a lot of cricket. Our preparation's been poor. They've been playing cricket in Pakistan in their domestic 2020. That's all they've been doing for the last 5 or 6 weeks. And it's shown yesterday because they were all in tip-top form and they all hit the ground running very, very hard. And India just couldn't get anywhere near them.
Yeah, Paris Sharma says, how much of a role did New Zealand and England's abandonment of the tours fire Pakistan? Look, Pakistan don't need much to put themselves in that, the angry and put upon side that they actually are. I mean, it's fair enough that world cricket has dumped on them at times, but certainly it'll be interesting when Pakistan faced New Zealand, because it actually didn't seem that heated on the field yesterday, and I thought that was a bit of a problem for India. But I think it's going to be really testy when New Zealand play Pakistan. Do you think, going back to the Jew factor, is it going to, essentially Pakistan yesterday won the toss and batted second, and they won comfortably. England against West Indies, same thing. I mean, brilliant result for Sri Lanka against Bangladesh. I mean, just when everybody was writing them off from even qualifying, they go back-to-back 3 wins, and now they've beaten Bangladesh with a handsome run chase. But again, how big is this? Is Jew going to not ruin the World T20, the 2020 World Cup, but is it going to play way too much of a part in all this?
Unfortunately, I think it is. You hear comments from bowlers. David Willey said we've been practicing dunking sort of bowls in water and having to, buckets of water and having to bowl with them. It's the nature of where they're playing and the time of the world, the time of the year that they're playing, that there is a lot of due factor. I don't think the due factor was the England West Indies game. I don't think it had. I think it finished.
No,
that early.
I mean that you're right. That one had nothing really to do with it. But the tactics is clear, isn't it? You win the toss, you bowl first.
Yeah, you bowl first, and normally you bowl first because you want to chase and you feel comfortable. You feel comfortable chasing and knowing what the total is that you're going to get. This time, I think it's you bowl first for the simple fact is you just don't want to bowl second. It's got nothing to do with chasing the number. It's just your bowlers are going to find it very, very hard to hold the ball in 3.5 hours' time, and that for me is why teams will bowl first. And is it going to ruin the tournament? I hope not, but I think it's going to have a big part to play, especially further down the line when the games start becoming the top sides play each other on a more regular basis, i.e., the last couple of group games, which get down to the nitty gritty, and then obviously semi-final and final. I'd like to hope that it's not gonna sort of hamper the tournament come semi-final final time, because that then it would be a nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, thank you so much for everybody getting your questions in. We will be continuing to deliver shows exactly like this one, hopefully following some more competitive matches as the series progresses. We're going to be off the back of every single England game and India game here on Bowlfast Talk Straight, myself and Steve Harmison. Please subscribe, review, leave us a comment as well. Harmy does go through all the comments and answers them, but for now, Harmy, we will be back. We've got some huge games this week. England back against Bangladesh. That's a must win for Bangladesh now. You'd have to feel. There's West Indies versus South Africa. Again, this is the beauty of this tournament. It's already must win encounters, isn't it? And of course, India can't afford to slip up as well. So lots of cricket to come. One quick point, though, very, very quickly. Aryan Sakawa says, talk about today's match, Scotland against Afghanistan. And we are going to be reflecting on some of this. And head over to the following on podcast as well for more cricket content. But Scotland, absolutely brilliant in qualifying. But they're going to come up against a completely different challenge now, aren't they? Afghanistan, you can expect possibly them to go in with 5 spinners, possibly.
Yeah, they will, and Scotland will be hoping that they can nullify Rashid Khan, win a toss, nullify Rashid Khan, and hopefully get a score on the board. But it's great to see Scotland. I've just spoke on TalkSport about the Ben Stokes news to Ali McCoist, who is a massive cricket fan. Ali McCoist is a huge cricket fan, and he'd be proudly wearing his Scotland jersey, watching the World T20 today. And fingers crossed for Scotland, Carl Kurtzer, Shane Berger, and all the team that they do well, because their story's been great. The way they've prepared and got themselves in this position has been fantastic. They've earned the right to be there, and hopefully, when they get there, they'll beat one of the big boys.
Brilliant stuff. Well, look, we will reflect properly on all of the games. We're not just going to play lip service to some of the smaller ones. But I tell you what, Afghanistan and Scotland a few years ago would have been seen as distinct rivals. Of course, Scotland have fallen away, or rather, Afghanistan have risen. But it'd be an absolutely fascinating to see how that one goes. Harmy, thanks so much, mate. And brilliant news at the start of the show if you missed it. Ben Stokes back, former or fellow Durham boy, back for England in the Ashes. The show will be broadcasting throughout the Ashes as well. So plenty of cricket to come here on Steve Harmison's YouTube channel. But thanks for watching.